Okay, so I was supposed to build a computer according to you guys in the podcast. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's start.
Today's video is brought to you by the JayzTwoCents merch store. We got t-shirts and gaming mats and mugs and all that kind of stuff. So whenever you go buy our stuff, we don't have to put other ads here and other annoying crap. So go buy our stuff.
This was quite an adventure. I did a bit of researching, homework if you want to call it that, but it wasn't really homework. I had to look up some stuff. I started with which generation I wanted to go with as far as PC and motherboard, and I narrowed it down. I originally wanted to do the newest AM5 platform, then realized RAM is going to be a little bit hard and not everyone has a Micro Center around, because I found a deal where if you bought a motherboard and CPU, you also got a set of free DDR5. Couldn't find the RAM in our warehouse, and if I did use RAM here, it would have been more of a throw a lot of money at the build, and I felt I wanted to do like a reasonable price to build for my computer that you guys wanted me to build. So I started out with the let's see, the i5 12600K, so it's a 12th gen, and then I also went with an Asus Z690 motherboard. I went with this pairing because I can still use DDR4, which is great. Costs are fairly low with that, and it leaves you a little bit room to upgrade if you want to. So as far as RAM, it's 32 gigabytes of the 3200 megahertz. Storage, we're gonna use a 2 terabyte drive, NVMe. Just makes it easier. You could do multiple terabyte drives if you want, but I think the cost will probably equal out to the cost of one of these. And then GPU, I know you're all excited. What GPU did you choose? I chose probably the redheaded stepchild, the 4070 Ti. Reasonable MSRP right now compared to when it was, and I figured if I'm gonna use new parts, this is what I would pick right now instead of trying to track down a deal, because not everyone is gonna be able to find the same deal. Once again, it'll throw off the cost of under $2 grand I wanted to make for this build. I think I found this retail for about 800, so this is gonna eat up the majority of your cost, which I believe is well worth it, especially if you like RT. As for cooler, everyone's been doing AIOs. I kind of want to do an AIO, but that would bring it like right at the $2,000 mark. Actually, it'll be well over 2,000. I would do like a 360, but I decided I'm gonna try air cooling it because I prefer to use out-of-box settings. The most I adjust on my personal builds are gonna be fan curves. And power supply, another place where you could save some money, but I like a little bit overbuilt. So I went with an 850 watt, and I'm pretty sure you could get away with a 750, but just to be like over that line of safe, like you're safe, do an 850. All right, so as far as the parts, the last thing that we're gonna build in, I'll show it to you as soon as we get in there. The fractal torrent case. Like, I really like this one. It's a gray one, so it's not gonna be like a standard black or white case. There's a couple other cases that I would have liked to build in, but had to pick what we had on hand. And I figured this will be really cool because if you notice, it's a top-mounted PSU, so we really can't do a top-mounted radiator if we went with the AIO, hence I did the air cool. And there's like two, I believe, 180 mil fans in the front, so plenty of air to go through, and we'll see how it holds up after I put this thing together. All right, so as far as my build total was, we're about 1,800, under 2 grand, which I was excited about. The places I saved money was definitely the motherboard and CPU combo, because at Micro Center, the deal for that specific processor and the motherboard was $306 versus the AM5 platform I wanted to build off started at about $672. So yeah, about half off allowed me to put more money towards the GPU and even more, save some more money from the RAM to throw towards PSU. Also money towards upgrading the NVMe from 1 terabyte, so I had more storage instead of buying multiple. Anyways, let's go back to getting the build together, and I'll come back after it's built. Also, Pro tip, I like to RTFM because I'm just built like that. So I also discovered that the optional channel here and the CPU fan channel, there's another set underneath, but these two specifically in the manual say that they're paired. So I made sure I plugged in each of the fans respectively into there. That way it will be controlled and these will be the same speeds. If I plug, say, one in the bottom, that other one is not linked to another plug. So the speeds will vary if I set it in the BIOS. I'm happy this turned out. I shouldn't be excited. This is like my 5th build, but this one is without Jay behind me, probably telling me to hurry up.
Okay, so we're back from vacation. This is like a week and a half at least from when you started doing this.
Yeah.
I tasked Nick with, while we're gone, you have free reign to raid the shop, build a system, but rather than just going, here's all the most expensive stuff on the shelf, which would have been really easy to do, I tasked him with trying to balance the system, kind of like pick either a theme or some sort of concept in mind. So first of all, did you have like a budget in mind? Did you do any sort of pricing on this?
I did. I said I set my budget to about 2,000 bucks.
Okay.
So I figured it'd be like a mid-range thing, and I also took into account.
You just triggered people by saying 2 grand's a mid-range PC.
Well,
that's a pretty high-end PC still.
My bad. Well.
He's changed.
I know, right? I'm assuming this is going to be like, okay, you already have a monitor, keyboard, and stuff.
Yeah,
so
we usually use pricing just for the
on
tower.
Yeah, so you're focusing on the tower.
What about a resolution? Was there a resolution in mind? Move that.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, 1440.
1440p.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the 4K panel, but
I know, but I changed the.
All right.
Yeah.
I already figured out by looking at the wrapping that this is a torrent case because it has such a unique shape. So go ahead and unveil it.
All right.
Cool, it's a torrent.
Okay, so this is the gunmetal torrent. This case is interesting because it doesn't have conventional fan sizes. So these are like
180s.
Yeah, they're like 180s on the front. I think they're 180s. Yeah, they're not 200s. They're 180s, which makes it interesting. You can still use like a 360 or something up there. The bottom, these are 140s, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 3 140 intakes on the top, 2 180 intakes on the front, and it's all positive pressure. Top mounted PSU, you chose 850 watts. So what's the graphics card?
4070 Ti.
Okay, that's cool. So you did a Z690, so what CPU's in there?
The 12600K.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Because I originally wanted to do like an AM5, but like everything was kind of expensive just to do a base level AM5.
Is this DDR4 or DDR5?
DDR4.
Okay, so already you're getting a better value there than you would went AM5 because you'd have to choose our DDR5 stuff.
Yeah.
That is a 3070, you said?
40.
Oh, sorry, 4070 Ti?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, people are triggered. I can feel it.
Yes, it's like the redheaded stepchild of graphics cards. I specifically chose it because I do like RT on some of my games.
Okay.
So I figured instead of going for AMD.
A 4070 Ti with RT on in 1440 would be about a 3090-ish performance. Like that's all blacked out, so that's the tough motherboard. Mm-hmm. And then how much RAM is that? Is that 32 gigs?
I believe.
Yeah, so you have 4 8 gig sticks, and they are matched sets. So I was, that's number one, is like, did you just put 2 sets in there, or did you match them? So this is a 4 DIMM set. So in terms of like QVL and compatibility and stuff, you'll have the most compatibility by obviously using a matched set instead of putting two gig sets together, or 2 stick sets together. So far, everything appears to be connected. Cable management looks nice. How much time did you spend building this?
Probably a full day.
Okay. Well, it's faster than I build. All right, well, let's look at the back. The back will tell us how much time you spent building on this.
There's lots of room.
Oh yeah, I forgot they had that controller down there.
Yeah.
I actually think this was supposed to be changed out. I think it was a fire hazard.
Oh.
Moving on.
So you tell me Nick could have burned the studio down while we were gone.
That would have been the true test. How did you handle that?
Well,
this is better than some like store-bought builds, honestly, in terms of like its build quality and cable management. Like this is all tucked away down here.
I like the wiring setup on it though, because I basically did the internal wiring first, and then I brought in the power supply and then started routing it on top.
Yeah, well, the routing of this power supply and the way the cable compartment is, it's easy to cable management this way.
Yeah.
All right, let's put it all back on because we need to do some temperature testing and all that sort of stuff. So the first things I want to know, did you go in and enable XMP and any of the BIOS setting stuff?
I don't think I enabled XMP. I left it off to make sure all this stuff was going to install first, and then check the BIOS, but I don't think I got back to installing or switching it to XMP.
So RAM speed that you technically paid for and are not using.
Yeah. Unrealized.
I'm gonna say though, did it come with these fans on the bottom? Like were all these fans already in the case?
Yeah.
I feel like Nick cheated. Do you know why? Because he didn't go with RGB stuff, which is gonna, dude, was that on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted like a blackout theme almost.
Which I think a lot of people are gonna thumb up just for that reason. But for me, like going, how well did you set up all the software and stuff? It means I can't critique your ability of getting it all set up, updated firmware, and all that kind of crap. You know, all I had to say to people that are like, I hate RGB, it's like, then don't turn it on. You're not paying for it. No, you're not. You're still paying for the product. The RGB just happens to be on it, and believe it or not, pricing doesn't change just because of RGB. Moving on, the blackout does look really good though with the gray. I like this a lot.
Right.
So the only thing that should light up in this build would be motherboard and graphics card.
Yeah.
Okay. Curiosity, you have an EVGA 850 power supply. We do have Corsair 850 power supplies that have a native 12-volt high power cable that wouldn't have required an adapter. How come you didn't use that?
I didn't realize that, actually. I didn't research it. I just
He's the one that takes care of the warehouse.
The way I looked at it is like, okay, I'm running this card, I just need a power supply that goes for it. I wasn't looking for what's going to tidy up the cables more apart from what's already coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I also know that we made at least 3 videos about this that you've been a part of. It doesn't look, believe it or not, the 4070 Ti cable doesn't look terrible because the adapter puts them both on the outside, and so they can be parallel to each other without all like crooked and stacking. So it doesn't look terrible, it really doesn't.
I was honestly more excited because the EVGA cables came with non-pigtail VGA plugs.
Yeah.
So I used those.
Anything 850 and up on EVGA come with both pigtail and non-pigtail. And that was for like the SLI stuff. The thing is we're gonna start seeing less of that now that SLI is dead. All right, go ahead and turn it on.
Of course, right?
It's because it's not Nick's fault. When you first plug in the system, it has to charge the caps. It takes a minute, 10 seconds or so before the power button will do anything. Is that, did you actually plug in the RGB cable for the case?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's pigtailed off there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, dang, that's a fast build. Nick built it. Oh, Nick. He left it at 60 FPS.
How did you not notice that?
He did enable XMP.
Sick.
Okay, redeemed there, but then like undeemed.
Yeah. Point loss is still at a 0.
Yeah, exactly. You're still at
0 right now.
Wait, no, he's at like +1 or 2 for the cables, right?
Yeah, no, the cable management alone, that looks sick. That was a really good job. It helps too that the cooler doesn't require any RGB cables, and AIO requires USB cable usually, and RGB cables and fan cables and all that stuff. USB 3.0 is plugged in. If he was just like, he had to push his foot on the back side of the case to close it because the cables were so bulky, that'd be bad. Okay, so Nick, here's what you do. There's 2 ways you can fix the FPS. You can right click, go to display settings, and then click on advanced display, and then 144. Or if you have the NVIDIA control panel installed, you do it there. Now look at this. Now it's buttery smooth, okay? Okay, so MSI Afterburner, you went in here. Let's see what you did. Damn, that's big. No power limit increase, no voltage unlocked, no core clock megahertz changed, no fan. So what'd you do with it?
I used it to monitor, but I was doing my fan curves for the CPU in Armory Crate.
Yeah, but MSI Afterburner has nothing to do with your CPU. So that would be independent.
So it's completely independent. Okay. because I thought it was going to conflict. That's why I at least set with 1.
I would have at least maxed out the power limit, because the cooler is overbuilt. The tough cooler, it's the same cooler that's on the 4080. It's overbuilt for, I think, yeah, it looks like it's the same cooler for the 40. If not, it's still overbuilt for the TDP of that card. So I would have gone in here and just been like, max that out, and then that would have been it. Save 1, apply it, system startup. So there you go. At least now it would have 10% extra power limit to go, which would equate to about probably 1% FPS increase, maybe. 40 series, so the latest is 528.49. And you're on 49. Okay, so you're on the latest. Cool. So
+1.
you get a little ding for you right there.
Yes.
He's like, yes. So did you download anything to monitor temps for CPU, or are you just using Armory
Just
Crate?
Armory Crate.
Is this also reset the lighting profile? Because everything's still RGB.
Yeah, I left it RGB.
-1. You did a blackout build that you left RGB. -1. The funny thing is, Armory Crate does not change the lighting of the card, even though it's an ASUS card. You have to download GPU Tweak to change the color of the card, which is stupid. So I'll give him back the +1, only because if you had changed that and didn't install GPU Tweak, which I think is, personally, I don't like it, then that's gonna be RGB while everything else is white. So we're back to net zero. No, honestly, I think it should have just been white on the RGB stuff, because that would have looked really sick with this very spacey theme. Like this still looks like a spaceship to me, you know? Or at least an engine on one. Temperature should be fine, honestly. Multi-core. Do you see how the software freezes? So I can't even get accurate CPU temp reading. Oh, there's 52. It goes on a very low priority, whereas hardware monitor still is able to pull pretty high at a pretty fast rate. So this might hit 60 maybe? 53, okay, it runs really cool.
Yeah.
So there you go, the Noctua with a 12600K, whichever part number that goes on the screen right here. Pretty thick, actually. There, so it's going 4.5 P-core, 3.6 E-core, which makes sense as to why in the Armory Crate it was showing such a lower frequency, because it's averaging that. High 50s, low 60s on the P-cores, high 50s on the E-cores. There's only 4 E-cores, which means your install is good, your mount's good, your thermal paste is good, +1.
Sick. Score.
Is anyone keeping score? Or?
I don't know.
Is there a logic as to why you didn't choose an AIO for any, like, out of curiosity?
Well, I wanted to cut down on budget, and the AIOs I wanted were kind of like over the $2,000 mark at that point.
Dude, it's expensive AIO.
Well, no, like for the
Yeah, I
grand
know.
total. Oh my gosh.
I know. How much is this cooler when you looked at
That's
it?
like $130.
That's expensive air cooler, dude. No, my only concern would be about growth with this air cooler. If you were to like, okay, later on I'll drop in like a 13900K, because you still, I think you could do a 13th gen in a Z690 with a BIOS update, or even a 12900K. That's a lot of heat then, 230 to 250 watts full max on a push-pull air cooler of this size. You'd probably still be hitting your TJ Max.
I was also still curious about air-cooled because most of my personal builds were all AIOs, so I'm like, let's try something different as well.
Mechanically, it's very reliable. The only moving parts are the fans. I was just curious as to why you chose that. Until you said the price, now I'm a little bit thinking you might be wrong. I would have maybe spent a little more on an AIO or a dual tower Noctua, which would have been like 50 bucks more. And I think at that price point, 50 extra bucks to have a bigger cooler that gives you because now if you want to go with a bigger CPU, you're gonna have to either enable some limits or you're gonna have to go with a bigger cooler, adding to the cost. But you did say that there was a bundle for the CPU and the motherboard.
Yeah.
So the CPU motherboard combo pricing is great. The CPU cooler is fine for this combo if you were like, I'm not gonna upgrade my computer in years. So just know that with this kind of combo, you would probably have to increase the cooler size. Because if you upgrade in 3 or 4 years, how big is the CPU gonna be then? You know? You had benchmarked Cyberpunk, or played around with it. It's at 1440. HDR mode is none. You have reflex on. That's fine. VSync is off. That's fine. You have custom graphics here, so you have DLSS set to balanced. You have a mixture of high and ultra. Ray trace on. Did you have a target FPS in mind?
Over 60.
Okay.
Like,
I think it'll do it.
Did he-
It might do it.
Did he get, I don't know, I spent so much time benchmarking this card already for the review, but I do everything with maxed out settings. My philosophy is I want to show you the worst performance you could possibly get with the card. So you know, if you reduce your expectations like setting wise, you're only gonna get more than that. So it's kind of like with a car, you put it on the dyno and you see what is the max it can do, and well, the game itself would be a dyno, And you gotta max the load on there. Okay, your target was over 60. I think you nailed it. Obviously, you could have
Gone more.
Well, if you're like, I want to play Cyberpunk with ray tracing on, and I want at least 60 FPS and 1440, the 4070 Ti is going to be a bit overkill for that. But the 4070 Ti will last you into the future. It's just obviously it's not a popular card because of Intel or not Intel, but Nvidia's money pricing philosophies. But we can't help it. This is what we have to work with moving forward. Eventually 3000 series will be gone. So you'll have no choice but to either adopt this or wait. Either way, we still build computers, that's what we do. Average FPS, 88.24.
Sick.
22.24 points.
No, it should be 28.24, not 22.
Oh yeah, I can't
Because you were shooting
math.
for 60. Like, we're going for 66 FPS? Is there something at 66?
I don't know, I can't math.
Oh. Okay, so we're gonna turn on frame regeneration just to see how much improvement he would've got.
Dang.
It does. I legitimately can't tell in motion.
Yeah, like here's the thing, if you didn't tell me that that was on, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, same.
Like I'm sitting at a pretty big distance, but even knowing it's on, I can't tell. So we should give you a point for every point above 60 FPS you got with frame regeneration off, and then take away every point you missed out on by not turning it off. 28.24, you're minus 59.38.
Can we like take away 10 more points?
Oh, so
What we have proved here is now when I need a system built, because of something we need to test,
I could do it.
well, I knew you could do it, I just didn't know what quality you were gonna do.
So this is the QC test.
I'll tell you right now, if you've watched any of like some of like Steve and Kyle and Paul and Linus's like SI reviews, you're better than a lot of those guys already. I'd like to say you had a good teacher.
Sick.
I'm surprised you didn't go, thanks Linus. All right guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have no idea what he filmed. We're gonna have to check it out while Phil starts editing it, but there you go. I'm glad you didn't take the plastic off because I don't know if this PC is gonna stay together yet. I didn't have these particular parts slated for anything specific, except for that's the only 4070 Ti that we have for benchmark purposes, so that can't continue to live in here. But this PC is technically, actually no, this PC is higher spec than your current gaming rig because you have a 6800 XT in there. But you can't have the 4070 Ti just for the reasons why I just said.
What about the Gundam build?
Wait, oh, do they have a Gundam 3090 or something? Yeah. That would actually still be an upgrade for his work. Well, this isn't even part of this video. What are you guys talking about? Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.